They were not willing whatsoever to allow us to get in the doors until after we got under contract. I don't make offers without seeing a house, so that was hard for me. What do you mean we're not going to go look at them first? And John's sitting in Atlanta going, well, I got to fly up, so we're definitely going to get them under contract first. So I got 2 out of on this deal are looking at me like, you're an idiot. Buy it first, we'll take it out. Okay. So out of my comfort zone for sure.
Welcome to the CRE Playbook Podcast. We have Bob Schneider here with us, who is not only a student, but also now a coach in the program. He's a broker himself. And if you want his entire background, check out the episode we did before this one. It gets into why he got into commercial real estate and how he ended up there, from fixing and flipping residential real estate, being an agent and a broker, to now owning commercial properties. But for this episode, we want to break down what him and I just bought. We bought this portfolio together. So we're going to break down all the details, all the nitty-gritty on this property, what went well, what we liked about it, the challenges with getting it to the finish line, because there were many. And our hope with these kinds of episodes, there's a whole bunch of, I feel like the podcast world is filled with people that are like, I got 300 doors in 1 year and I used to be a janitor, and a bunch of other stuff like that, which is cool. But I don't think people hear from real people trying to do their first big deal or whatever that scenario is. And people are usually so far removed from what happened, they can't even tell you what they struggled with or what challenges they had with the deal. So that's what we're going to try to do with this series. So let's kick it off. What you got, Bob?
Yeah, so, like I said, my background's in the other episode there. I'm obviously selling real estate as a broker every day. I'm licensed in a couple states here and running a team and making all that happen. So, the fun part about moving over from that world to this world, obviously, is the size of the deals. The numbers are awesome, right? So, this deal, we purchase price of $4.625 million. My largest deal I'd ever done to date before that was $925 on just as a listing agent, right? And I've wrote some other big offers that haven't come together. There were, $2 million, $3 million that didn't come together, but largest deal I'd ever closed, $900 and some. And then come from an auction background as well. I've done some of those where they accumulated over $1 million and paid well, but whole different ball game when you're buying. You're the buyer at 4.6, So that part's a lot of fun, man. It's definitely a journey. And I have the background, I guess, where most people think I should be going into deals like this. But it's, rarely a smooth jump from sales agent to owner. And this one especially, a lot of bumps in the road. So.
Oh yeah. So let's start off first. So what kind of deal was this?
So this was an on-market deal. I had calling around a lot of my broker buddies, a lot of guys who are in the business. They were calling me for stuff. I was asking them. Got to talking. I had a good friend. He was building out doing another fun deal where he was taking an old mobile home park and turning it into short-term rentals at a major attraction in my area. And so talked to him about that. He was trying to get some more leasing on campgrounds and short-term rental stuff from some of my clients and contacts. And he said, I told him, hey, man, I'm trying to buy some more commercial deals, multifamily, stuff like that. He says, well, have you seen this one? There's a pack of 22 buildings, all multifamily. Let me send it to you. He sent me the flyer on it. I hadn't seen it. Didn't see it anywhere. So cool. I got on the horn, called that agent right away, got a voicemail. Called the secondary agent, got a voicemail. Told you about it. He said, man, that looks like a deal. That looks like a real, something might be there. Another week went by. Called, left 3 or 4 more voicemails. She finally called me back from Vegas. They were on a trip. They're doing some sort of marketing program or something. Turns out they're agents, not in my area. They work the next city down, about an hour and a half south of me, 2 hours south of me. City of Lexington, right in the middle of the state. That market is not that far away, but it's a totally different market. We have different MLS systems, different marketing channels. They're not, they don't cross-pollinate too well, so for whatever reason. So this particular seller lived in Lexington, had a bunch of properties down there, also had this portfolio up here they were trying to liquidate and get rid of, move all their money south, is what we were told. Come to find out, not only did they have those 22 buildings, but they also had another what was it? It was another 20 buildings, 23 single families as well. So it was 45 buildings altogether. I think they were asking 6.9. Does that sound right? Right off the rip, 6.9. Yeah. So that's the original numbers we got. We got a bunch of pictures of the exteriors of all these buildings and some basic information in a big old pro forma, saying they were worth $25 million and some change. So it's a made up number. Didn't say that. So they look great on paper. They really did. And they're all within 10 minutes of my house, spread across two little river cities along the Ohio River right below Cincinnati. Something I don't see a lot of in this area anyway, where they're all hyper local to me. Usually these spread across. If I see a portfolio come across my desk, typically it's not 45, it's like 20, and they're spread across Dayton, Ohio, all the way down to Lexington or whatever, or across. We're in the tri-state area, so we got Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana right here. There'll be some all over the place, right? And that's not as attractive to me, just because distance between houses makes it tougher. So all of a sudden, I got an on-market deal with another broker that's now talking to me because they're back in town, and we've got 45 buildings trying to figure it out. So cool deal for me. Biggest one I've got to work on, and all of a sudden, not only am I working it, but I'm trying to figure out how to put it together myself. So in comes John with, hey man, I see, John comes in, tells me, man, I see a ton. And I mean, every single day somebody sends me a portfolio like this. And I'm like,
Every day. Yeah.
I said, all right, well, what do you think of this one? He's like, this one might work. And I'm like, okay. Now, I was expecting you to say, right? So we dove into the numbers, I don't know how many times that first week. I mean, we crunched and crunched and crunched and crunched. We must have rewritten numbers 20 different ways that first. I mean,
the spreadsheets look gross.
Yeah, before we even got anywhere with the other broker, we were having a good time crunching numbers and making up scenarios and trying to put it all together. And so it turned into, a month or so before we really got any headway and really wrote an offer. It took a while, not really on our end, but on the seller side. They were out at the not so much the sellers, but the selling agent. There turned out to be two different agents involved. We had one girl who was in a lower position than her, I guess, other associate, Justin. Justin became the main guy on this deal. Rachel was my original contact, and she did a little bit of upfront work, and then she backed out of the way for all the negotiations, and Justin took over. So we kind of got, I guess, what's the best way to say it? We got slow rolled a little bit by the agents right off the rip, and it took there was 2 to 3 weeks of follow up to get really any basic information out of it, so we could start making real decisions. And it took a while, but we were about a month in when we finally wrote the first LOI.
I do remember that. Yeah, it was a while.
February. So we found out about the deal in January. It was the end of February. And might have been 1st of March when we really got the first LOI out. So
might have been.
Yeah. And then,
so a couple of things to talk about there. Let's talk about the portfolio piece. So you mentioned what is 100% true. Even when I was only residential doing wholesale and fix and flip, we got sent portfolios, not all the time, but every couple of weeks maybe, or at least 1 or 2 a month. Someone would send us some big monster portfolio. And when I was newer, I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. I'd love to buy all these houses. And then I would dig into, and then you click on the first address, you type it into Zillow, and they want 250 grand on the sheet. And even before you actually underwrite it, you look at the Zestimate, the Zestimate's like 150. And you're like, wait a second. It's super, super common that people somehow think because they have this big portfolio that each individual house can somehow be worth more together than they are as individual houses. And I think one of the things that you need to do when when someone sends you a portfolio, pull up each house, whether it's a single family house or a small multi, and then just comp it if you're from the residential world, just like you would a regular house, and make sure that that value is there. Like it can't be overpriced just because it's in a portfolio. But that's pretty common.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it's exactly what we started doing, was diving into each individual one, got them on a spreadsheet, started putting numbers to them, started running scenarios over and over and over again. The bad part is, with this particular scenario, we had next to no information as far as condition. We had rents, we had all the pro formas, we had all the cash flows and the profit and losses, but we had no actual boots on the ground.
Yep.
And they were not willing whatsoever to allow us to get in the doors until after we got under contract.
Yep.
So that, coming from a guy who does fix and flips, I don't make offers without seeing a house. So that was hard for me. That was very hard for me. Like, what do you mean we're not going to go look at them first? And John's sitting in Atlanta going, well, I got a fly up, so we're definitely going to get him under contract first. So I got 2 out of on this deal are looking at me like, you're an idiot. Buy it first, we'll check it out. Yeah, okay. So out of my comfort zone for sure, right? So I have been telling sellers for years now that I can make you an offer over the phone. It's going to be stupidly low, and I can probably do better, but until I look at the house, I can't tell you. And then they finally agree to let me in the door, and I get the appointment and go from there, right? Not the case here.
Yep.
Here I'm fighting a totally different battle. I'm playing a game where I got to rely on the spreadsheet and the pro forma. And welcome to the big leagues, right? Welcome to the real world.
Yeah.
So here we go. And we were dealing with Justin is not my favorite style of agent to work with, to put it that way. He had a bad habit of wanting to, every time we made the initial offer, and his first instinct was to immediately, we sent it in, called him, and he immediately wanted to start negotiating with me. And I'm like, talk to your sellers. He said, no, I got it. I think we came in at 5.5 right off the.
We did.
So 5.5 million on, they were asking 6.9, so we were considerably low at this point. But based on our numbers, that was a fair offer. It wasn't like a extreme low ball. It just fit what made the numbers work for it.
Yeah.
And so we went back and forth on that one. Me and Justin went back and forth for about a week. And to be honest, I don't believe he ever talked to the sellers that whole week. So that was
I don't think he did.
a very frustrating start into this whole transaction, which didn't stop from that point on. But so we rode that train for a full week where finally it was like, give me a response from your sellers. So ended up getting a response from Rachel, not Justin, ironically, because he started off negotiations, and she came back with, it's too low. You got to be in the 6s, which is okay, but also not really a response, right? We came back with, what are we gonna do with that? 6 is what I kept saying. 6 what? Give me a number. Give me a real response. And so our negotiation from LOI to under contract, or signed LOI anyway, was about a month. It took a while back and forth with these guys, and frustrating to say the least. But we did finally pin them down to $6 million even for 45 buildings and 84 doors, 84 doors, and 3 single families and 22 multis. So quite the mix. $6 million is definitely the biggest deal I've ever had on paper. And so that brought us to, all right, we got to buy this thing. So, how are we going to do this? So, which is another fun one. We ended up at Collective Genius in the meantime, in between getting this thing right before we got it under contract under LOI, right before we went down to Tampa for Collective Genius, and then we were already in the works of talking to Renovo, Lending One, and a few other big time lenders, and then we brought a few others in while we were down there in Tampa talking to all the guys at CG. So we had quite the mix of people, and sent the numbers, sent the spreadsheets, sent the pro formas out to all them. Every one of them's all over it. We're looking good. I know you were a big.
If you're listening to this and you are trying to do a portfolio and the numbers actually do pencil, any kind of major bridge lender will be very excited to get on the phone with you and talk through numbers. They all seemed to want to do this portfolio initially, for sure.
So we were looking at it from, basically we wanted to get a bridge loan or some sort of short-term loan, stabilizes all these properties, bring it back into a DSCR, hold it long term, sell as a portfolio after stabilized, and thinking somewhere in the 5-year mark we sell. And so, a plan out of the gate is that, right? We're looking at this as a longer term investment, a wealth building opportunity. This is something that when we get it stabilized, we sell it, we can turn around and 1031 into a much larger, whatever, multifamily warehouse, whatever. But, we'll worry about that later, but we're dreaming of a big 1031 exchange right now. So we got the LOI signed. We're doing good. Everything's agreed to. Get down there. We get multiple options ready with the big lenders, and then I've got my hard money guys that I use for private hard money guys I use for fix and flip projects. So I call a few of them. I got one of them that's interested. So now we got our down payment and we got our major financing, our 80%. So we're feeling really good at this point. Feeling really good. We had 2 weeks to go from LOI to under contract officially. Luckily, I got a brother-in-law that's an attorney, a contract attorney at that. And we went red line back and forth, 5 or 6 times?
We did, yeah. Plenty.
I mean, yeah, more than we probably could have, honestly. But they were trying to be pretty stickler on their side and some of the stuff that it was, it was worth doing, but, could have been shorter. So,
yeah. Which, just to pause you for a second and just to tell folks what that looks like on the commercial side of things. When you're in smaller deals, sometimes the purchase and sale contracts can look very similar to residential, where it's a standard state level template and it's just a commercial purchase and sale versus residential. So that exists in really small commercial. But as you start getting into bigger and bigger stuff, and I don't know exactly what that threshold is, it's somewhere around $3 or $4 million. Once you get into that higher numbers, then it seems most people would rather have an LOI to begin with and then get out of the way and let each side's quote unquote attorneys discuss what the purchase and sale agreement should look like. And it's a more legal, multi-page, a lot of times 10, 11, 12-page document. And that part can take a long time. And it's frustrating, I think, really for sellers and buyers, because they're usually like, once we've agreed, like as a seller and a buyer, if we agree on price and the time it's going to take to close and the general stuff, like I'm pretty good at that point. Like I'm ready to go. But it's unfortunate that when lawyers get involved, and I have plenty of lawyers that I like and some that I don't. So if you're a lawyer, apologize. But it can I would say sometimes the initial draft of the purchase and sale agreement, sometimes it's great and easy and we can move forward really quickly. Sometimes the buyer's lawyer drafts it really, really aggressively. And then you're stuck in this multi-week period of going back and forth with red lines, which we were somewhere in the middle. It wasn't horrible, but there definitely had to be several rounds of discussing stuff for sure.
Well, we had sent over what we thought was a middle of the road sort of contract. And got back a harsh seller weighted red line. And then had to fight that back to the middle is what, the way I viewed it anyway.
Yeah.
So I think that's fairly accurate. I don't think we were trying to take anything we shouldn't have.
Yeah, agree.
We ended up, we were at $6 million at the time. We had 2 weeks to go from LOI to under contract. We had a 60-day due diligence, correct, the first round?
I think it was even longer. Because we knew we had so many buildings to get into. I think it was 90 days. I had to go back and look.
Yeah, 90 days to due diligence and close 30 days after that. So after we got back from CG, we started interviewing all of these new bridge loan lenders, and everybody wants to deal. That's the fun part. We are talking to town at CG. We've got the largest deal going in the group. Everybody, we're top dogs. We're feeling really good. All the lenders want us. Everybody's calling us. We're feeling like big dogs, right? I find a local bank that wants it, and their terms are blowing everybody away. So we sign on with them and start sending them docs and start sending them everything they want to see as we're getting this actual purchase and sale agreement finished up and signed. So we signed the purchase and sale agreement. We got back from CG, signed the purchase and sale agreement 3 days after we got back from CG. Or maybe it was right before. It was somewhere around there. John flew up from Atlanta, landed in. We met up with the current property managers, which we already knew had a terrible reputation in the area and weren't too happy with them. But so we met up with them for them to go through. We went through 84 doors in 3 days. And you talk about a chore. That is a lot of doors to go through in 3 days. Very, very full days. So John got off a plane like 6 at night, and then the next morning we were in the houses. And and then he jumped back on a plane and took off on me. So he went off to another town, went to another door, like 2 days later. Yeah. So
I did do that. Yep.
Did a very full March. But yeah. So looking at these buildings, from a house flipper perspective, I'm thinking any one of these is fine. But this is a lot of work when you pile them all together. And that's truly where my head's at on this whole thing, is how in the hell how we take on all this. And we had a very long night sitting in a hotel room not far from my house and going over every possible scenario and every possible number.
We did.
And we're 5 days in the due diligence, a 90-day due diligence at this point, right? So piling through the numbers over and over and over again. I'm like, it's a lot of work, but this will work. That's where we ended up at. And so we still had, I mean, the numbers were tight. They would work, but the numbers were tight. So we're still moving forward. And we start piling through insurance and through working with that other lender, working with these other lenders, getting bids on roofs, getting bids on HVAC, getting bids on, there's a bunch of stuff. Calling property managers. We were gathering up lists of property managers. We had we still had quite a bit to do. And then we were getting all the title work done towards the end of the period. So,
and a couple of those houses had foundation issues, and one in particular had serious foundation issues. Yeah.
Yeah, like actively moving down a hill, not looking. So we went to, we got towards the end of the due diligence period. We were stretching stuff out, still crunching numbers, still trying to make some stuff work with the renovations needed. At the time, we had, out of 45 buildings, we had, I believe, remember right, 26 of them needed roofs. So a whole bunch of roofs. And luckily I got a roofer that I've used quite a bit, and him and his guys went and walked every single roof for us, all 45 of them, and got us some bids. So from start to finish, we're getting closer to the 4-month mark at this point. And our local lender is telling us they definitely want to do it. They love the deal. They're going to make it happen. And they've still yet to order an appraisal. And we are getting towards the end of due diligence. We got 30 days to close once we sign that dotted line. And we had 50,000 down, EMD?
Yeah, 50.
Yeah, 50,000 down. As soon as we signed due diligence over, that became hard, non-refundable. So we're still telling all these other lenders we like that we're gonna go with the local boys. They're half the rate. They're half their rates. Their terms are better. AM's better. Everything's better. So back and forth we go. Finally, we get to the end of due diligence. We decide that, you know what, we don't have financing set up. We haven't done an appraisal yet. We can't close in 30 days. It's not going to happen. We got to get an extension, and we're recrunching the numbers, and we're not sure with the work that we're happy with the return we're going to get.
Yeah.
So we start, a week before due diligence was over, we sent over a price reduction, which, come to find out, in the residential world is very normal. In the commercial world, not so much. The other side, Justin and them, took that as a major insult that we would even entertain that, and made that very well known. And so we started a bit of a hostile negotiation back and forth, from $6 million back down to 5.5, and they did not receive it well. And we gave them that a week before due diligence was over, so we're quite a few weeks in at this point. And I think they went a full week before he told the sellers we wanted to renegotiate.
Yeah, I think he did.
When he finally told them, it was the day before due diligence, or maybe the day of due diligence ending. And sellers weren't happy, obviously. I got a bunch of response back from them through emails and texts that why'd we wait till the last day? And my response was, we didn't. Your agent didn't tell you. Of course, they never got to see that because they had to go through their agent and, So, fighting with them back and forth. One of the houses had such bad foundation problems, we told them we would take the house, but we weren't going to pay for it.
No.
If they wanted to give it to us, we'd clean up their entire Northern Kentucky portfolio and make that house go away for them. We deal with the problems. But we were going to give them $0 for the house. And so we had kind of negotiations. The houses ended up at $113,000 a piece on the single families. And so we took that off, plus the cost of roofs, plus the cost of some other stuff they claimed was all in good shape. So it all ended up around that $500,000 mark.
Yeah.
Going back and forth and back and forth. We ran out of time and fell out of contract. So technically the deal's dead. And then
How'd you feel during that time?
Sick, mostly. Relieved, sick, tired. I don't know. I mean, this was all I did for 3 months at this point, was work on this deal every day. And the rest of my business was slowing down because I wasn't putting the effort into it I should have been. And I'm kind of solely focused on this deal, which wasn't the right place for me to be, but it's what I was doing. So in the meantime, we've told the local lender that we just can't use them. They haven't ordered appraisals yet. We gave them a Friday deadline, and they couldn't hit it for ordering an appraisal, so we bailed on them, and we went to the big boys. The big boys were like, yeah, no problem at all. Just tell us go when we're ready. But now we're out of contract. So last ditch effort, we hit them again with the other agent said something to the tune of, well, for $113 a door, if you don't, we'll just take that off the sale price and we'll keep that house. I hung up with him, called John, and said, I got an idea. Let's just get rid of all the worst houses. Our multifamily price is so good we don't want to touch it. Let's focus just on the single families, which was originally a separate deal that we pulled all together, the singles and the multifamily. So let's run through all the numbers and kick out everything that's not worth the $113 that we're buying them at. Because we kind of took it as a blanket average. We'll take the good with the bad and whatever. And that's how we were originally looking at it. So after running through that, we picked 13 houses that we just didn't want to buy. So we took $113 off per house and said, here, reduce the price by 113 times 13. The other agent called me back, cussing and yelling, saying that was absolutely absurd. You can't do that. That was an average for the whole thing, and you guys are idiots, and sellers won't agree to this, and how dare you want to take the average price when you're buying the good with the bad and just take that price off and only give us the crap ones back. And it was a half-hour conversation that ended with me saying, look, talk to your sellers, let me know what they say, otherwise I never want to hear from you again. I'm absolutely done with it. And I said, if you call me back and you haven't talked to your sellers, I will find you. And I was done with this guy. So about 5 to 10 minutes later, it was not long, he calls me back. And I'm like, you better have talked to your sellers, is how I answered the phone. And he says, they kind of like the idea. All right. What do you mean they kind of like the idea? I said, they're definitely open. They want to negotiate a little bit on the price, but they're open. I said, all right, let me know what they respond with. I don't care what you think it's worth. Tell me their actual response, and you better have it on paper. Don't call me unless you do. So the next day, that was on like a Saturday night at like 10 o'clock at night too. It was not normal commercial business hours. So
No.
the next day he calls me back, and it might have been Monday, whatever. But had it on paper. They wanted to come up $25,000 based on what our counter offer was. Fine with us. We're good. We signed it all. We're back under contract. So now we call up our big boy financing, call them, and say, hey, we got this thing back going. We need to close in 30 days. They're like, what happened? We got to move. I'm like, deal. It's like, main thing is we need this appraisal done. I said, okay, send it. He said, let me get some options together. I'll send them to you. So he calls us back with options. Options are we can get the appraisal done in, I think it was 2.5 weeks for $65,000. 3 weeks for 3.5 weeks or 4 weeks for $50,000, or we can get it done in 3.5 weeks for 25. And there's two different companies, but the options were 65 grand, 50 grand, and 24,950 or something like that. So we did not have a whole lot of choice. We chose the 24,950. So, and then we had to pay for that up front, out of pocket, to the lender that day to get it ordered. So it was like, we're back on. Our 50,000 earnest money is now solid, non-refundable, and we're showing 25 grand in the playbook.
Yep.
And then we've come to find out we need to get through every vacant unit plus 20% of the occupied units, and we got 71 units left in this package. So we had to go through 22 units altogether of the 70, and they were spread out across, start to finish. If you drove from one farthest end to the closest end, it's 20 minutes, so it wasn't that far. But
yeah, it's not bad. So pursuit costs. So Bob was talking about, we got 50 grand earnest money that is now hard, and then we got another 25, so we're 75 in the hole for this building. One of the things that you have to start getting comfortable with as you start getting into bigger and bigger deals is that you're going to have money that you're going to put on the line, that sometimes the smart move is to let that money go. And that's really hard for people when that number is $75,000. That's a lot of money for most people in the United States. Now, the nice thing is this at the time, is almost $5 million portfolio at this point. If you're getting into $1 million deal, your pursuit costs are going to average 10 to 20 grand, I'd say. Probably 20 grand when you include the earnest money and the pursuit cost, which is your appraisal, inspection, environmental, that kind of stuff. So you need to be prepared that you do have to have some loose change laying around, even on the small version of these deals, that you're willing to lose and walk away from if the deal no longer makes sense to buy, because that will happen to you. And it's happened to me a couple of times, and it's just part of the game. So, and as you get into bigger numbers, that 10, 25 grand turns into 50, 75, 100 grand of pursuit costs that you have to be willing to let go, because losing 100 grand is better than losing several million. And it just is. And that's something that you have to consider. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the negotiation piece. So you're talking about we renegotiated based on the condition of the property. So, and Bob alluded to, like, in residential, it's pretty common. In commercial, it can be less common. And to just put some commentary on that, especially in the multifamily space, which this is not 100% exactly the same, a large percentage of your deals are being done by a very small pool of brokers. And so if you're like, hey, I'm the multifamily guy in Cincinnati, you don't want to piss off the top 5 multi-brokers in Cincinnati, or you're not getting a deal sent to you before it's on market. And so you're excluding yourself from getting the best deals. So historically, most buyers who are very reliant on off-market deals from brokers are going to, if they find something out in due diligence that they would normally renegotiate on, they just let it go and take that small loss to preserve their relationship. And again, not saying you should buy a bad property just to preserve a relationship with a broker, but if it's a small thing, 10, 15, 50 grand on a deal like this, you just let it go, typically. Now but then there comes a point when it's too different from what you were told that you do need to either renegotiate or walk away from the deal. And that's where we found ourselves in this deal. I mean, we were being told by the broker that all the roofs are fine, that, these are all, yes, tenant standard properties, they're all lived in, but they're all in pretty good shape. There's nothing major to be fixed. That's literally what they told us. And then we go into the property and 60% of the roofs are toast, complete toast, and leaking in the house. I mean, all kinds of bugs and rodents and foundation and all the things that Bob just said. I mean, these units were in rough shape across the portfolio. So that we had to add a bunch of money to our capital expenditures in our numbers that we hadn't necessarily planned for. So that is the time when you either need to renegotiate or walk away. So
at this point, with a new lender, we have ordered the appraisal. So we're 75 grand in. We got 30-day countdown to close this thing, and we're scrambling. So we've got to get title work done because we didn't do it early because it was going to cost. I have a wonderful title rep that I do a lot of business with, and I held them off specifically because the deal was rough all the way till the end of the due diligence. They had everything chimed up and ready. They just didn't spend any money on it yet. Once we had it back under contract, I said, go, go, go. They started working on that. It was, it would cost them, whatever it was, $10,000 on their side to get this all done. And I didn't want them to spend that money unless I knew we were going to go after this deal. So we finally started that. So we're on a 30-day countdown to get title work done on 32 properties, to get appraisals done on 32 buildings, to get insurance lined up on 71 rental units and 32 buildings, and to get our docs over to the lender, make them happy, and then my hard money guy getting him everything he wants on that side. So we're chugging away at this point. We are all excited. The lender drives down an hour and 20 minutes from his place to mine, walks through all the buildings over 2 days with me and the appraiser. Appraiser loves it. He's happy. He's a good old boy and loves the properties. Lender's happy. He's liking the properties, wishing he was buying them. He's saying, feeling good. Feeling real good. Too good. So
I feel the other shoe about to drop. You haven't said it yet.
yeah, it's about to hurt. So we are within a couple weeks of the closing, 2 weeks from closing at this point. Two things happen. One, we get told by the appraiser, the good old boy didn't do the actual paperwork. He just walked through the properties and made all the notes and sent them into the overhead company. And the guy out of New York didn't like these buildings nearly as much as us. So we came in short.
Very true.
How short? Do you have the exact numbers in front of you, John? On how short?
I saw it the other day.
I know. I've erased all of this from my mind as much as possible because it was a rough week. So we came in on the buildings. We were expecting them to appraise top line as a whole closer to $7 million, and I think they came in at 5.5 if I remember right as a whole.
Yeah.
And then individually, they were all just all over the board. It made no sense at all. Everything was low. And so lender called us like, we got a problem. We said, yeah, this is definitely a problem. My hard money lender said, what are you guys doing? So we got to working on this. So between me, John, the other broker all of a sudden became a very valuable tool. He started harping on and calling this appraiser. The lender spent a solid week every day working on this and beat up this appraiser. He was absolutely not going to change it. And then our boy John here, who is the spreadsheet wizard, found out some extremely valuable information. This was a 168-page appraisal, if I remember correctly. 168 pages. So John started digging through this with a fine-tooth comb. And he found the magic bullet. The individual prices they put on every property did not match the total price they put on the page. Yep. They literally added up more individually than they did as a whole, which makes no sense if you're using the individual numbers to make your totals. So they didn't even do their math right on. They were off by like $250,000, like a big mistake. And $250,000 not in our favor. And so all of a sudden, like just by simply doing addition, we got $250,000 back. So then they got on with the other agent and talking about cap rates and why we were selling at this and that and the other. They had us at a worse cap rate selling
by far
than what we were buying them at, which makes no sense. And so everything was backwards. Nothing made sense. The points still, the game's made up and points don't matter, right? We're playing whose line is it anyway. And so here we are. Finally, the lender got on the phone with them the following Monday of next week, and they're like, yeah, we can't justify anything we put on this page. And magically, they redid the appraisal, and it came in exactly where we needed for the lender.
You know, what's crazy when he asked them why. Do you remember what they said? I thought it was fascinating. They said, we couldn't understand how you were getting such a good deal on these.
Yes.
So we thought there was something wrong
So
with
we
them.
made the numbers show that we think there's something wrong with the houses. Was their exact reason
Yeah.
on why? That's what they wouldn't put that on paper, but that's what they told our lender, and that's what they told the listing agent. And what they ended up telling us on the phone was, "You guys are just getting
Yeah.
too good of a deal. This doesn't make sense. There's something wrong with these. Why would they sell them
Yeah.
that cheap?" Is what they kept saying.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Yeah. Apparently, we're not allowed.
We had to write we had to write a letter of explanation as to how we got such a good deal on it, even though it was on market.
Yeah. And on listed on market,
crazy.
went under contract, fell apart. Then we got it under contract a month, 2 months later, and we had to explain why we bought it so cheap. Which, as an investor, it hurts my soul to write a letter to somebody to tell them that I had to explain to somebody why I'm good at my job. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it's not what I was expecting. So, we're on the high horse now for about a day. And that camera drops on us. So my hard money lender decides that he is not willing to do a secondary note without putting a second on all the properties. Which in my world, on the flip side and everything else, and I do very little seconds, but the ones I've done, I don't really mind. Yeah, put whatever you want on it. I'm going to pay you off. Don't really care. It's a legit loan, so sure, put a second on it. Come to find out, our big boy lender did not feel the same way about that. First and only was their response. They want the first note and the only note on the properties. They absolutely 100% did not care if we borrowed the money for the down payment. That part was totally above board, didn't care. They would not agree to him having a second on that loan. So we start off day one to tell them exactly what we're doing, and they were totally fine with it until there needed to be a second on it.
Yep.
Now we got five.
Yeah.
So we got the appraisal where we needed. We can get the money, everything we need to make the deal happen. But we can't get to a closing table now. So now we are 1 week out from closing, calling every lender in the country, calling every hard money, every whoever we can find everywhere, digging through old Yellow Pages phone books, trying to find new lenders to see if somebody wants to take on this loan, and getting shot down left, right, and center. We ran out of time. We went completely out of contract again. Several days worth of calls with the listing agent. They were not happy. The sellers were not happy. And we were out $75,000 now. That now is not only hard, but contractually, as far as contracts go, needed to be sent to the sellers. So we did what was right and looked at our contract, fought it every way we could. And at the end of about a week of going back and forth and trying to pull the deal back together, we sent them the money. Looked into the $50,000 and wired it over from the title company over to the sellers and gave them our pursuit cost. So we've now paid for $25,000 worth of appraisals that we had to fight tooth and nail to get corrected, and lost $50,000 in earnest money deposits. And like you said before, John, how did I feel? Yeah, it was. That was a rough one. That was a rough week, 2 weeks. I pretty well been shut down for a while. I went and sat in my house and stared at the wall for a week.
Yeah. I do remember I had to kind of pull you out of
the misery and funk and
yeah.
tell me I'm not really dead when I feel like I am. Yeah.
Which, don't get me wrong, I felt similar, but I had this thing where, and I think probably one of the things that I'm best at was once I know a deal is a deal,
Right.
even when we went out of contract, the message that we relayed to that agent was, we're temporarily going out of contract right now until we get another lender, just because we cannot meet your new date. And he was actually offering to extend us. I forgot this until we just started talking about it. He was offering to extend it, yeah, but we needed more hard money, which we were like, we're not going to make any more earnest money hard. We've already risked enough, at least right this second, until we get another lender in place. Once we have another lender who wants to do it, we will absolutely go hard again with more earnest money. And so it was basically like hey, this is a goodbye for this next week or two until we get a lender in place. But we'll be back with the strong lender in place. Because we had everything else. We had the hard parts. We have the appraisal. We got the capital partner who's willing to bring the second, which is way harder to find than a primary.
Right.
We've walked to the properties. We had a plan. We had a scope. We were just now missing a primary lender willing to allow a second, which is a big ask. There's a whole bunch that don't. And you got to remember that these national hard money folks, your big giant companies, where they're getting money from is like New York, Wall Street, hedge fund kind of folks. And they're getting the money really cheap and then arbitraging it to you. And so that's why they have really, really clean, strict buy boxes of what they will take or won't take. Because they're going to be selling, they're bundling those loans together and selling them. So it's got to all be clean. So getting a second on a big portfolio is the opposite of clean. So that's why they won't do it. But you got to find someone that will.
So after about a week, John talked me into trying to sell the whole package as a wholesale deal, and I started calling everybody I knew about that, and had a lot of interest, but it was too big of a project for anybody to be able to jump on in a timely manner, and sent a lot of numbers around and a lot of stuff. In the meantime, John's working his magic in the background and still hunting down lenders. And then he calls me, I think we're about 2 weeks out of contract, and he says, I got somebody, he says he's 97% sure he can make this happen. He's ready to go. He said, I'm going to call Justin and give him the 15 grand. I said, don't do that yet. Slow down. Don't do it. And this was on like a Friday at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And he's like, no, I'm going to send him the money. I'm getting this back under contract right now. I'm like, don't do this. Let's get 100% and he can do the loan before you send him any more money. He's like, no, I'm going to do it. I'm like, seriously, don't do it. And he's like, all right, fine, do it. So by Monday, he couldn't do the loan. And I was like, holy crap, you saved me another 15 grand. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
So saved us some money. So like, all right. And luckily, I don't think we had told Justin yet that we found a lender.
No.
So me and John, I mean, we're talking an hour on the phone while John's trying to send him another $15,000 for pursuit cost here. Mm-hmm. And luckily we did not, because the lender fell through literally the other side of the weekend. And so by Wednesday, the lender's back on. And he sends us, so he sends us everything we need. On paper, he can do the note. He's breaking it apart into two deals, whatever. Either way, we're making it happen. It's a little more expensive on closing costs, but we're making it happen. So I'm out of town at this point. I try to call my hard money lender, tell him we're back on, because he's now realizes we're out, and the money we're borrowing from him is now in Europe on a cruise. And so he doesn't answer the phone, but he texts me and says, okay, I'm not sure I still want to do the deal. Thanks, though. I'll talk to you when I get home. Okay.
Awesome.
So then I go, I'm on my way to go out of town as well, on a camping trip and whatever. And I get a call from Justin and the seller himself on a three-way call. And the deal is basically, if we want the deal, he'll honor everything we did before, honor our earnest money that's already in, leave it all in the deal, leave all our pursuits costs the same. We put an extra $15,000 up of additional earnest money that's hard immediately, and then we're under contract, close in, I think it was another 3 weeks or something.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we're like, all right, well, I need to confirm with my lender. I got to borrow more money because closing costs more, whatever. And he basically says it's now or never. We're going to sell to somebody else today if you don't buy it. So we had to make a gut call and say, Are we going to risk another 15,000 a day, or are we going to wait till Monday when our other guy gets it down and 100% confirms that he wants to do it still? We made the call. We bid.
Yep.
I waited at Monday. It was a long weekend waiting for Monday. So Monday came, and he was in pretty much. And all was good in the world. But so we headed to a closing table. And so that's how we finally got this deal bought. And I hit a new record at a little over 900 pages of closing docs
Yes.
in one sitting. We started at 11 a.m. on my end, and I didn't get finished till 6 at night. So, yeah. I went through several reams of paper. We had some corrections and stuff we had to do on the day of the closing. So I print off 100 pages and throw it away and start over and print them off again. Print off another 100. Yeah, so 900 pages actually got sent back to the lender, according to my wonderful copier, and all day stuff signed. So we got it bought. We've got the 4.65 loan. We've got the 20% we borrowed from the hard money lender, and another $1.1 million in renovation capex renovation funds. So we are feeling good.
Yeah.
So brings us to today. That was the hour-long version of how we got the deal bought. It took from beginning of February or mid-February till October 24th was the closing date.
I'm glad you shared that in that level of detail with everybody, because I wanted people to get a true, real sense of how a difficult deal can look like through the ebb and flow, because it's they're not all easy. Now, I would add, for those who have heartburn listening to that, they're not all that hard either. I would say every deal has at least one or multiple hard points, but I only had 2 deals in the past couple of years that were as hard as this one. So if you want to just talk through or think through all the issues that we had on this building, it was lost the local primary lender, lost the national primary lender,
Correct.
briefly lost the capital partner, but got him back.
3 days. It was a stressful 3 days.
Yeah. Yep. Got an appraisal that came in way too low. Somehow got it corrected, which that rarely happens, by the way. Once it's written, it's hard to correct. Had properties that needed way more work than we thought as we walked them in due diligence. We didn't even get to this go round. We maybe briefly touched on it, but a extremely poorly managed property management company that had the property to begin with.
So come to find out now, after owning this thing for a couple months, that the property management company and the sellers, I guess, stopped spending money, stopped managing this property, basically the day we made the first LOI offer. So we come to find out after we got it bought, and frankly, we closed on a Friday. On Monday or Thursday, funded everything Friday. On Monday, they sent out an email with my personal phone number and email address on it saying, we're no longer managing any of these properties as of immediately. Call Bob for all your maintenance requests, needs, and figure out where to send your rent. Thanks, bye. And quit responding to all 71 properties. All 71 units, just completely stopped responding to them. Then we found out that not only were they not responding to them as of that Monday, they had not been responding to any maintenance requests for over 6 months, some of them 8 months. So we got lied to there, no doubt about it. So but that's I don't think I've got enough time to talk about all that. Yeah.
No, I think we'll probably get into it in more detail next time, because I think it ties into getting a new management company that's much, much better, which is a great topic, I think, for next time. I do think what you could add to that, because I'm selling a storage property, and one of the important stipulations in the contract is that we continue to operate and manage the facility to the best of our ability as we currently have been. So to me, as the seller on this deal, that means I'm not shutting off the ads to get more tenants. I'm not cutting my budget. I'm not dropping the FTE from sitting on site and talking to people. I'm keeping the management in place. I'm not changing anything. If something breaks, I'm going to fix it. But clearly, I don't remember if we had that in the contract or not. Clearly, that did not get enforced on this deal. And so that is something, if you're going to have a long deal, that you need to make sure to check on. So that's kind of a, learning lesson. I would say probably makes sense to get the monthly expenses and P&L and repairs and maintenance every single month in a prolonged contract like this, which can be difficult when, I would say 60% of the time we're under contract on this thing, we're pretty certain we're not going to close it. So
Right.
It feels a little difficult to be asking for a bunch of documents when you're fighting to keep the deal alive, but it's important for if you do close, for sure.
Good news is the deal still makes money.
Yeah.
It was just a very
absolutely.
rough way to go to get to a closing table.
Yeah.
Still a good deal. And we've had some bumpy road in the first couple months here, but overall, the thing's going to make money. So it's not. I know that was a long, harsh story of the reality of get that done, but it is still worth doing. It's still a deal worth making, and it was just a test of our abilities and determination to see if we really wanted it, and obviously we got it. So
yeah. If you buy right, you can weather, the storm is coming for every deal, whether it's a horrible storm or a mild one. You're going to hit some bumps in the road. Things are going to be difficult. Everybody would be doing this if that wasn't the case.
right.
But if you buy right and you have a sound plan, you can make it through that even when stuff happens that you're not expecting, for sure. But awesome. I'm really, really glad that you shared that story. That's a tough one to get done. I wanted people to see the real side of things. Things aren't easy. You got to fight for them. So it's a super cool story. We're going to keep talking about this property over several episodes. The next episode, we'll get into stabilizing this portfolio and what that has looked like and is looking like and will look like in the future. And we'll just keep updating about these different projects we're working on as we're doing it. So hopefully you guys like it.
Good deal. It's the story of the multifamily, the small
Yes, sir.
multifamily.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate you.
Absolutely, anytime.
Thanks, guys. Next time, we'll see you again. Bye.
Bye.